Okay, so I spent half an hour looking at two pull requests. One of them was this one. Basically, Adam sent a pull request to use the new Sphinx features in Sphinx extension that I've added recently, so hopefully that'll get merged soon. Another one is adding handwritten docs for non-op tokens, or improving the token documentation in general. So if you want, we can go through that, or we
I don't really mind.
Or we can look at something new, or if you have any question, anything you'd like to talk about, preferably Python related.
Don't really have anything in mind, so it's up to you, I guess.
Alrighty. Okay, so let's look at this link that I have in my notes, and I don't remember what's behind it. Oh, it's this one. I think that's mostly done, so let's not go through that. This one is the token documentation. So once we have the token documentation merged, I guess the stream can return to the grammar documentation itself. Oh, there's also one more branch for this one. The token term is not being explained, but it's mentioned in some chapters of the tutorial, and I have a fix started for that in branch token glossary. I haven't pushed this branch yet, so let me rebase it on main. So I'll fetch and rebase. I think I have some craft here. No, it's fine. So what's in this pull what's in this commit I started some time ago? So adding a glossary entry for token. It adds a glossary entry for lexical analyzer, which should redirect to token. It adds a glossary entry for token. Should be fine. And the two chapters that were mentioned here should be changed. Oh, I see this is 3 chapters. Okay. So in lexical analysis, input to the parser is a stream of tokens generated by the lexical analyzer that adds this link, basically. That's it. Here a link is added in errors, and let me use a word diff. So basically this just adds links and the node, also known as the tokenizer. That should be good for adding a glossary entry for a token. Are you following this? Should I slow down? Explain something more?
No, I'm following it.
Alright, so I now remember why I didn't send it as a pull request yet. And that's because somewhere in errors.rst this says, for syntax error, the parser repeats the offending line and displays little arrows pointing at the token in the line where the error was detected. And this would probably read better if we avoid references to tokens entirely and just use something generic like place. Look, pointing at the place in the line where the error was detected. What's a good word to use here for like the location in the line?
Place is just okay. Doesn't need to be more complex.
Location. Or just leave token. I mean, is this always a token? If I do, because division by 0, it points out more than just the offending token. Or maybe just leave it as token for this pull request and save this discussion for another one. I mean, this part is pretty specific. Like syntax errors can be caused by anything anywhere, not just absences of tokens before the indicated token. So I would want to word this differently somehow. I just don't know how. Something like this, maybe even. file. Parser repeats the line where the error was detected. I'd also want to look at the context for this errors and exceptions part of the tutorial. So I'm not sure if this is even something the reader knows at this point. Let's see. Tutorial errors. So before that, yeah, we have some control flow tools. If for we have while somewhere here. Oh, it's before that. Oh, it's an informal introduction to Python has while in it. Yep. But it does not introduce this weird syntax used in the error message. Right, I don't think at this point in the tutorial we've seen loops on one line. Which is not exactly syntax you would normally use. Normally you can split it between several lines, right? What happens if I do just while true? Then I get a syntax error. What happens if I do while true print hello world? Yeah, then I get this. I even get a different file name here. So is there a
I get Python input 0, so there's no good file name to choose. It's going to vary.
Well, sure. I mean, Python input 1 is probably a better file name than standard in. But maybe we should leave this alone and just talk about tokens and syntax errors. Is there any way to get a syntax error on anything other than a token? Yes, there is. The F that's highlighted here is not a token. The token would be the string prefix with the quote. So talking about tokens is not exactly correct. I don't think the docs need to be that pedantically correct, but place is probably a better word. Maybe I should reformat this. Okay. Are you happy with this wording? Is there anything you change here?
For the last sentence, just for the last sentence, you can move it in the case the input came from a file, the name and line number are printed. Just move the sentence around.
Oh, this one.
Yeah, just move that to the start.
But that wouldn't be correct because the file name and line number are always printed. So I would need
Just
to move this
clear.
thing. Right? So you know where to look in case the input came from a file. And maybe this should be updated. To say Python input 0. What happens if I pipe this to Python? And then it says standard in. I guess it's fine. I'm sure people will have some suggestions when they see this. Let's open a pull request here. So this has an issue here. So we add token and lexical analyzer. This should be docs and skip news. And I guess it shouldn't be a draft either. So when I do this documentation rewording, I always get the feeling that it's quite boring to to do this on the stream. Do you have the same feeling?
It's not the most exciting work.
Yeah. So is there anything more exciting we should do? Because I'm afraid the stream will now, there'll be now a lot of rewording on this stream.
Have you been working on anything else?
Maybe one thing we could do is, now that we have the token documentation, we could link all the grammar snippets all the tokens in the grammar snippets to the token docs. Would that be interesting? Like, no, not here, but if you go to expressions and oh, I see, integer links to this grammar here. That's probably not worth that. So this new line and end marker, that could link to the token docs. But what do we do then about things like integer? This needs lots of untangling. So in some previous editions of the stream, we looked at the lexical analysis and tried to clean it up a bit. I see right now what I do is link this new line. I maybe even link this token as a term. Do we have this linked now? Did I not rebuild the docs? I think what we should do here in this lexical analysis chapter is use the actual token names, because so this says a lot about new line and comments and stuff like that, and then it goes on to identifiers and keywords, and it uses the name identifier. But the token name for identifier is, oh, this is not a term even. The token name for identifier is, where was that? Not here, and library reference. So that would be name. Right, so I want some way to bring these together. So instead of identifier, we would use uppercase name. And then instead of, I guess, well, we should probably use string for both string literal and bytes literal, and f string. And then we should use number for both integer and float number, and more. Is that everything? I don't know if end marker is mentioned here. No. New lines are indent and dedent. So I guess start there. Except it's more docs rewording and nothing too interesting. There might be a branch where we started on this. I have too many branches here. Production list, grammar. Doc grammar improvements, that's probably it. Oh, I have a conflict here. Let me look at what this branch is about. Yeah, rewording F strings and adapting the introduction. So what I think I will do is take this branch that we did with Blaze earlier as a reference. And start a new one with the focus on linking all the, or well, explaining all the tokens that this talks about, and linking them to the token documentation. Does that sound reasonable?
Yeah.
All right. Let's pull in the main branch. Create a new branch called Lex Analysis Tokens. Let me put this branch name in my comments off screen so I know where to return next time. And let's start. Let's start in lexical analysis. This would be a term, and the term is token, not tokens, generated by the lexical analyzer. This chapter describes how the lexical analyzer breaks a file into tokens. Okay, Python program is divided into a number of logical lines. And this new line needs to be linked. So I'll link it to token.newline. And I guess this would also be the same. Physical line is a blah blah blah. no token references in physical lines. And we have comments. Comments are ignored by the syntax. That's nice to know. Encoding declarations. So there's no token coming from encoding declarations. Then there's explicit line joining. When a physical line ends with a backslash, it is joined with the following line. Implicit line joining, expression in parentheses, square brackets, blah blah blah, can be split. Right, blank lines, a logic line that contains only spaces and so on is ignored. This one could be linked. Instead of IE, we use that is. This is, I don't know how much, how I don't know if this is entirely true in the new REPL, because you can paste more stuff into a multi-line statement. So you can do a equals 1 and then print a plus 2 and just take this and paste it all in. But when I actually type enter on an empty line, that will terminate a multi-line statement. So I guess this can stay. Then we go on to indentation. Indentation tabs are replaced. Indentation is rejected as inconsistent, blah blah blah. It's unwise to use a mixture of tabs and spaces. Different platforms may explicitly limit the maximum indentation level. Wow. Form feed characters. Okay, let's not touch that. Now we have more tokens here. Okay, that should be for wait for indent and dedent. Now white space. Can be used to separate tokens. So instead of EG, we can say, for example, or we should say, for example, AB is one token, but AB is two tokens. And I guess this also needs an example to say both plus A and plus space A are two tokens. How would I say that better? Plus A is two tokens. That is equivalent to plus space A. Does that make it clearer? Another example, plus A is two tokens. Something like that. And then we go. Besides new line indent and dedent, the following categories of tokens exist: identifiers, keywords, literals, operators, and delimiters. Okay, so this needs links. And then here I would like to mention the actual token names, which would be in this token.rst. So which ones did we not cover? Comments are ignored. Oh, I'm not in the branch where this documentation is fixed. Let me look at the render docs. No, still not the right branch. I'll probably want to pull in this one. No, not token glossary. Which one was that? This one, token docs. Maybe I just want to look at this file here. So, name, number, string. So those are the proper names for identifiers and keywords. Literals, that would be number and string. operators and delimiters will be op. What are we missing? Name, number, string, op, new line, indent, dedent, f strings, are kind of a special case. So we're missing the end marker. End of non-interactive input. The lexical analyzer generators an end marker token. There's type ignore type command soft keyword. That's not really interesting. So yeah, we should have them all now. White space characters, and then line, rather than logical line terminators discussed earlier, are not tokens but serve to dim limit tokens. Where ambiguity exists, a token comprises the longest possible string that forms a legal token when read from left to right. I wonder if that is still true. Probably is. Alright, now we have identifiers and keywords. And so we get to the first first syntax or first grammar snippet, and the problem here is that this identifier is probably used elsewhere in the docs. Let me see if we have it. Yeah. That is used in a lot of the docs, in a lot of the grammar snippets. And the problem is that the official name for this token is name, and that's what you will see in the official grammar. I don't think we have identifier on its own anywhere, but the official grammar uses name. as in here or here. So I wonder what to do about that. Maybe do something like name is identifier, or the other way around. Identifier is a name, and a name is XID start, XID continue. Or maybe the best thing to do at this point is turn all of this into a pull request and turn the grammar snippet into another pull request so that it can be discussed on its own. So let me see the diff here. The diff is kind of long. Let's see if the docs build with this. This thing's taking a long time again. Yeah, I guess I need to clean everything and recreate everything. And build everything again so that things will actually work. And there's an error on line 268. This is RST. Oh, terminal not in glossary token. That's expected. Inline interpreted text. Starts. Oh, I'm missing a space here. Why not? Yeah. Referencing the term that I haven't added yet because that pull request is in flight. Otherwise, this looks fine. Hopefully, it generated something even with the error. Right. So we have nice links here that will link to nice documentation. Didn't, and so on. Okay, that's good enough to pull this into a commit. Right. Oh, and I see there is there's some issues. Oh, Adam already reviewed this. Oh. There's a typo for a warning. I probably should have caught that. Alright, also called the tokenizer. That's a good point. And token.indent, of course. And hopefully the CI will like that. Let's see, are there any other errors? Docs fail to build. Yeah, just the reference target not found, so hopefully that will be good. I'm a bit surprised that this change to the tutorial was received favorably. But anyway, we can go on. So I think I'll wait for this pull request to get merged first before I send the one that I'm creating here, and I'll probably send this one as well in a few parts, like in the individual commits. But in the meantime, let's go on. So how would I want to reword these identifiers and keywords? So if I look at this section, it says identifiers, also referred to as names, are described by the following lexical definitions. So this needs a link to the name token. And this says this here separates identifiers and keywords as two different categories. And then there's a section named identifiers and keywords, and then we only talk about identifiers. And after that there's a section called keywords and soft keywords. So what I would do here is I would probably use names as like the general category. And then split it up into identifiers, keywords, and soft keywords. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. So name tokens identifiers, keywords, and soft keywords. This is weird. So this is, they are described by the following lexical definitions, and then instead of the lexical definitions we say their syntax is based on Unicode standard annex blah 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 with elaboration. So this is a heading for the actual lexical definition, and I would probably want to have some easier to understand introduction, and only then say, and this Unicode makes all of this much more complex. Oh, and that's already here. Within the ASCII range, the valid characters for identifiers, blah blah blah. So let's put that here. Valid characters for identifiers include the uppercase and lowercase letters. Let's put this in parentheses so that it's clear that these are the same thing, or letters, or A to Z. The underscore, and except the first character, the digits 0 through 9. Python 3.0 introduced additional characters from outside the ASCII range. That's a historical note that's not really relevant now. So let's say names can also use additional let's say letter-like and number-like characters. Let's see, maybe besides A to Z and 0 to 9, names can also use letter-like and number-like characters from outside the ASCII range. Is there anything interesting in this PEP? Not really. The specification from this PEP should be repeated in the documentation. Otherwise, the PEP just has quite old discussion. So let's remove the note about the PEP and maybe move it into see also section. I don't know exactly how this should be formatted, but I think we do have something like this in the existing docs. Yeah. Let's look at that with a bit of context, and I want to copy this example. See also PEP blah blah blah, secure and interchangeable hash algorithm. That's exactly what I want here, except I want PEP 3131. supporting non-ASCII identifiers. All right. These characters, the classification uses the version of the Unicode character database as included in the Unicode data module. And I hope that will link to the that'll mention the version of Unicode. So the syntax of identifiers in Python, this is, now that we're this far down in the section, I would probably want this to be less generic. So maybe say something like the exact definition of letter-like and number-like characters is based on the Unicode Standard Annex UAX31. We want to link to that. It has a pretty nice URL, so why not? UX31 with elaboration changes is defined below, and PEP 3131 should not have any details at this point that we want to have in the documentation. Or maybe instead of see also here, we can just turn this into a see also sentence, not a section, a sentence. Identifiers are unlimited in length. Case is significant. So this would go before the Unicode thingy. And they're not exactly unlimited. They need to have at least one character. So we have ASCII stuff, which is easy to think about. Then we have Unicode, and then we have the formal definition. So let's say that this is formally. Formally, names are described by the following lexical definitions. And yeah, also I should use names instead of identifiers everywhere. here I will say that identifier is a name, and a name is xid start, xid continue. And I can also say identifier is a name except keywords. Something like this. Is that formal enough? And I hope everywhere identifier occurs in the grammar, it cannot be a keyword. Looks like that is the case. And I'm pretty happy with this so far. Do you have any comments, Dan?
Not really.
This is much more of a monologue than the usual streams. Alright, and now for this, I have some notes from the earlier branch. We started with Blaze. So the diff in my earlier branch starts here above the production list thing. And one thing I did is move this part up here. All identifiers are converted into the normal form NFKC while parsing. Comparison of identifiers is based on NFKC. So this is again names, and comparison that can have identifiers because do we compare keywords? Huh. Do we actually compare the normalized form of keywords? For example, where's this N here? That is Armenian small letter vo. So I can say n equals 1, and did that set n? It didn't. So those two are not equivalent. I wrote a pep on this once where I have some equivalents. Oh, there we go. This n should be equivalent to the normal n. N equals 1, and that's set my variable here. What happens if I is there a keyword with n in it? If only I had a list of keywords somewhere. Finally, none. Okay. None with this n. Whoa.
Yes.
I have never seen this error before. Identifier field can't represent non-constant. Okay, well, that proves it, I guess. Is there any... continue. Name continue is not defined, so you can actually assign a value to continue. And then have the variable continue set just like that. Okay, so yeah. So technically speaking, as far as docs are concerned, all names are converted into the normal form while parsing. That's not exactly true. All identifiers are converted into the normal form. And comparison of identifiers is based on an FKC. So I use name everywhere here except here, and that has that is technically correct. These edge cases never cease to surprise me. Okay, and then we should convert this production list to a grammar snippet, but it's getting quite late, so it's probably best to leave that to next week. Is there anything you'd like to add or ask about?
Nothing really. Just maybe a bug report where the continue behavior would be good. I think that's realistically going to happen. But
I mean, I guess all we can do is document it. And maybe this is just fine, you know, this all talks about names and now it's all identifiers, and continue is not an identifier. Or do you think it's an actual bug in Python that should be fixed and the name should be converted while parsing? Before it's checked if it is a keyword. No, maybe this is the relevant note. The keywords must be spelled exactly as written here. I don't know if this note was there in Python 2, where it probably referred to the uppercase letters and then the lowercase ones. But yeah, there's the key sentence, right? If I don't spell it exactly like in the documentation, it's not a keyword. Anyway, let me push my branch. Let me push my branch to my repository. Just so it's somewhere visible in case somebody who's viewing the stream wants to take a look at it. And that's it for this week. Thanks for sticking with me, and see you next week.